Okay, so quick confession before we start. I have, on multiple occasions, imagined what my life would look like if I were upper class. In this fantasy, I wake up slowly. Sunlight pours in. Someone hands me a coffee that isn't lukewarm. I glide gracefully into my day. Then I actually wake up, step on a charger cable, and spend the first 4 minutes of consciousness deciding whether today is a check email in bed kind of day or a pretend I don't own a phone kind of day. Spoiler, it's usually the first one. But here's what got me genuinely curious. When you look past the yachts, the champagne, the imaginary butlers, a certain kind of quietly wealthy old money culture tends to repeat a specific set of small daily behaviors. Not extravagant ones, small ones. And weirdly, most of them cost absolutely nothing. So today, we're breaking down 9 things traditionally associated with upper-class daily life, why they actually matter, and how you can steal every single one of them without needing a trust fund. Let's get into it. Number 1, they protect the first hour of their day. This is a big one, and honestly, it's less about luxury and more about defense. Think about your average morning. Alarm goes off. You grab your phone just to check the time, and suddenly 25 minutes have vanished, and you're watching a stranger renovate a kitchen in Ohio. People who live intentionally tend to guard that first hour like it's sacred. Coffee, quiet, maybe a walk, maybe just sitting there, being a human, before becoming a professional. The real point isn't that they have more time than you. Everyone gets the same 24 hours. It's that they decide who gets access to their attention first, instead of letting the internet decide for them. Which, if you think about it, is kind of the opposite of most mornings. Number 2, they get dressed, even when nobody important is going to see them. Now, to be clear, this doesn't mean wearing a full suit to take out the recycling. Nobody needs that. What it actually means is treating personal presentation as a daily habit instead of a special occasion thing. I'll admit, my own personal definition of getting dressed up is putting on pants that have an actual, functioning belt loop situation happening. But there's something real underneath the joke. Simple grooming. Clothes that fit. Taking 1 extra minute to look intentional, instead of like you lost a fight with your laundry basket. It changes how you carry yourself. It changes how the whole day feels, honestly, before you've even left the house. You don't need expensive clothes for this. You just need to stop saving put together exclusively for job interviews and weddings. Number 3, they read something that isn't trying to sell them anything. This is where we shift from appearance to attention. There's a quiet, consistent habit, long associated with old money households, of reading actual books. Essays, long-form journalism, not headlines, not summaries, the real thing. And look, I want to gently point out that reading 47 Amazon reviews at 11:30 at night, trying to decide between 2 identical phone cases, is technically reading. It's just not going to make you smarter. Here's the distinction that actually matters, though. Most of what we consume in a day is reading with a job to do. It's trying to sell you something, convince you of something, or keep you scrolling for 3 more seconds. It has an agenda. And your brain, whether you notice it or not, is a little on guard the whole time. Reading for curiosity is different. It's slower. It doesn't need anything from you. A biography, a bit of history, something completely outside your job or your feed. You're not trying to win an argument or make a decision. You're just letting your mind wander somewhere new for a while. It's not about sounding intellectual at dinner parties, though I'll admit that's a nice side effect. It's about staying curious, even when nobody's grading you for it. Because that kind of curiosity is exactly the thing that tends to quietly disappear once we stop being students and start being whatever we are now. Number 4, they treat meals like actual events, not refueling stops. This one's very visual, so picture it. A set table, real plates, sitting down, maybe even conversation that isn't happening through a screen. Meanwhile, I would like to formally admit that I have eaten dinner directly out of the pan, standing at the counter, debating internally whether that counts as cooking or just damage control. The point isn't that you need fancy food or a dining room with a chandelier. It's ceremony rather than cost. Sitting down, removing distractions, slowing down enough to actually taste what you're eating. A €5 meal eaten with intention can genuinely feel more luxurious than a €20 takeout eaten one-handed while replying to emails. Number 5. They maintain things before they break. This one quietly flips the whole idea of wealth on its head, because a lot of it isn't about constantly buying new things. It's about taking care of what you already have. Polishing shoes, repairing a hem instead of throwing the item away, servicing things on time, keeping a home reasonably organized so small problems don't quietly grow into big ones. Compare that to the very popular personal philosophy of, "I'll deal with that later," which is how one loose cabinet hinge eventually becomes a full weekend renovation project that you didn't plan and definitely didn't budget for. There's actually a bigger idea hiding in here too. Old money culture, almost by definition, isn't built around constant replacement. It's built around things lasting. A coat that gets resold instead of thrown out. Furniture passed down instead of upgraded every few years. It's a completely different relationship with your own belongings than the buy it, use it, replace it cycle a lot of us live in without even choosing to. Maintenance, it turns out, is a form of respect for your things, for your space, and honestly, for your future self, who really doesn't want to deal with any of this on a random Tuesday. Number 6. They leave empty space in their schedule. And this is where things get a little more reflective, because it kind of goes against everything we're taught about productivity. Being busy all the time isn't automatically a sign of importance. Sometimes it's just a sign of bad boundaries. Here's a distinction worth sitting with for a second. There's a difference between having free time and protecting free time. Having free time is what happens when nothing else fills the gap. Protecting free time means you looked at an empty slot on your calendar and actively decided to leave it empty, on purpose, instead of letting it get swallowed by the next request that came along. People who live well tend to do the second one. A walk with nowhere to be. A lunch that isn't rushed. Actual buffer time between commitments, instead of back-to-back meetings that leave you eating a granola bar in a parking lot at 2 p.m, wondering where the day went. I looked at my own calendar recently, and based on how packed it looked, you'd assume I was running some kind of empire. I am not. I am mostly just running late. But even 20 or 30 minutes of genuinely, deliberately empty time can completely reset the rhythm of a day. It gives your brain somewhere to land. And that is worth protecting a lot more fiercely than we usually do. Number 7, they practice small social rituals. This isn't about aggressive networking or memorizing complicated etiquette rules nobody's used since 1958. It's smaller than that. Let me give you a very ordinary example. Someone invites you to dinner. You reply clearly, one way or the other, instead of leaving them on red for 4 days. You show up on time. You thank the host before you leave. And the next day, you send a short message saying it was lovely. That's it. 4 completely unremarkable actions. But together, they say something. They say, "I saw the effort you put in, and I'm not going to make you guess whether it mattered." Now compare that to the person who responds, "I'll let you know," and then reappears, unprompted, 6 months later, as if no time has passed at all. You do not need heavy ivory stationery and a wax seal to say thank you properly. A short, sincere message does exactly the same job. The real principle underneath all of it isn't about looking polished. It's about reducing friction for the people around you, making things just a little smoother and a little warmer wherever you happen to show up. Number 8, they build an evening ritual instead of just collapsing. This one mirrors that first morning habit, just on the other end of the day. Picture soft lighting, a book, maybe laying out clothes for tomorrow, a short walk, some quiet journaling. Compare that to the modern evening routine, which is mostly just lying horizontally while Netflix asks, "Are you still watching?" in a tone that somehow feels personally judgmental. The habit here is separating work from rest, lowering the noise before bed, giving the end of the day a small sense of closure instead of just stopping mid-scroll and hoping tomorrow sorts itself out. It doesn't need to be elaborate. It just needs to be consistent. And number 9, the big one, the one that quietly ties everything else together. They regularly review their own life before it starts running them. This means occasionally sitting down and actually looking at things. Finances, the calendar, relationships, commitments, health, what's working, and, a little more uncomfortably, what quietly isn't. You don't need a private study with a fireplace and a leather-bound ledger for this. 10 minutes with a notebook does the exact same job. And here's the thing, none of the other 8 habits really work without this one. Protecting your mornings means nothing if you never check whether your mornings are actually serving you. Maintaining your things means nothing if you never notice what's worth keeping in the first place. This is the habit that makes all the others intentional instead of just routines you fell into by accident. What looks like an upper-class lifestyle from the outside is often just intentionality, repeated so consistently for so long that it stops looking like effort and starts looking like personality. Maybe the real luxury was never about owning more. Maybe it's just paying enough attention to your own life to actually notice where your time and your energy are going before a year disappears and you're not entirely sure where it went. So, is some of this genuinely excessive? Sure. Probably. I'm not saying you need a monogrammed robe or a butler named Reginald, but underneath the aesthetic, there's something surprisingly practical here. Protecting your time, taking care of what you own, being present during meals, staying curious, treating people well, giving your day some actual structure instead of just surviving it. You don't need to wake up tomorrow in silk pajamas, casually announcing breakfast on the terrace to your very confused cat. So tell me, out of these 9 habits, which one would you actually start doing tomorrow? And which one sounds completely unnecessary to you? Drop it in the comments. I genuinely want to know. And if this was useful, hit like, subscribe, and stick around for more. Because at the end of the day, you don't need the lifestyle to borrow the habits.